Good morning, everybody. Sean here from the Trusted Business Community Association. And today I'm interviewing a lady who's been with us for some years now. Her name is Downie, and she is the soul mechanic. The soul mechanic, what is that about? I wonder what. Well, we're going to find out a little bit later on when we hand over to the wonderful Kay. Now, having fallen back in love with herself from after suffering a serious amount of depression in her adolescence, Kay now brings through what she's learned and the areas that she has developed knowledge on, an overwhelmed area where many people find themselves in depression, anxiety, the overwhelmed limiting beliefs, PTSD, emotional blocks, and much more. She helps people get through these mental blocks. She's a tarot and soul card reader, and she helps empower her clients to see clearer and think clearer. She's also a kinetic shift practitioner, and she has the skills to, instead of just sort of scratching at that area where you think, oh, that scab, if you like, where you're thinking, oh, you know, I really want to get over this. She will help you move forward and get over without going over the same old story time and time again. Kay Downie, welcome.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, Kay, there's an awful lot that I know about you, but there's an awful lot of people out there that are going to be listening into this interview that won't know you. And we want to obviously let people know who you are, what you do. So can you give us a little bit of a backdrop? I hinted on where this all started from, but perhaps you could put some meat around the bone for those listening in.
Well, you did touch on it when you were giving the introduction to me, Sean. It started because I myself had depression, and it wasn't just in my adolescence. It was right up until the age of 50. I had depression. I brought up two children. Whilst I had that depression, my children knew nothing other than me shouting at them or suddenly going into a corner and bursting into tears. I'm glad to say they've grown up to be quite well-balanced adults themselves. But no thanks to me, that's thanks to their dad, really. But yes, I had depression, and it came to a head when I had my second child. I'd already been diagnosed before that, but it had got under control. But when I had my second child, the depression really hit me like a rock, if you like. My husband didn't even know I had depression. My eldest child isn't his. I'd been married a couple of times before, but he knew that my son had problems, but not me. And me having depression really affected our marriage. When we met, it was like a roller coaster. It was as if we were picked up by a crest of a wave. But then all of a sudden, I have this baby, and I'm ill as well. And you know, it was an awful lot for him to carry. I did go and see a counsellor then, and the counsellor helped me tremendously. So I've got nothing against counsellors, apart from the second one that I went to see, who had an agenda. Because after I'd seen that first counsellor, my daughter started school. My son was at boarding school, and the boarding school decided that my son's issues were mine. And I needed to go and see a counsellor, not thinking that counsellor had an agenda. And he opened all the boxes that the First Lady had closed nicely up for me, leaving me wanting to drive my car off the Severn Bridge, because I lived by the Severn Bridge. If it hadn't been for a lady at the school gates, I probably would have done that, because she actually asked me to stop going, explained to me why she wanted me to stop going, and I did. So my daughter's about 4 or 5 years old, and that depression is still there, well and truly. Now, the only time that I seemed to control it was when I was working, and I did hold down some quite powerful jobs, really. But as soon as I got home, then it hit me again. And then when my daughter was 13, my mum decided that it would be a good idea for me to move over to Wales with my husband. His father had just died, and houses were cheap, and she thought it would be a good idea. Plus, she was Welsh, and she wanted to follow us over, but that's another story. So I came over to Wales on my own, with everybody telling me it wouldn't work because of my depression. That was 20 years ago, Sean. So it did work. And I was very fortunate enough in the second year that I was here to meet a lady who felt sorry for me. She felt sorry that I was going to work. and then going home and arguing with a 13-year-old, going to work, waiting for my husband to come home on weekends. Now, through that lady, I started my journey as my spiritual journey. I went to a spiritualist church. I met a medium. The medium tried to teach me to read the tarot cards, and this will make everybody laugh because I did go to the workshop, first session. I did have the cards, and then I took them home and I put them in the bin.
Right.
So I wasn't ready to read the tarot cards at that time, but I was fortunate enough to go along to an academy with this medium where they were doing spiritual and psychic studies. And on their notice board was self-awareness course. And something inside me said, that's what you need to do, Kay. So off I trotted, much to the man who I was sitting with dismay. She didn't want me to do it, but I did it because I knew deep down that I needed to do it. Now, whilst I was doing that self-awareness course, I met a lady teaching the tarot cards. My friend wanted to learn to read those tarot cards, not. But she told me she did. It was the universe's way of getting me there. And that's how I began with the tarot. Now, when I was reading the tarot for everybody else, it was helping me. It was fantastic. A little bit further down the line, a friend said, Kay, you need to qualify. You're coaching people. You're not a fortune teller when you're reading your cards. You're helping people. You're coaching them. Go and get qualified. So I did. I went and qualified as a practitioner and coach with NLP. I didn't like it. It was too much like my self-awareness course, and I was paying a lot of money for it. But I was fortunate. The lady who was teaching said to me, Kay, I've got just the thing for you. And I said, what? And she said, Kinetic Shift. I said, what? She said, it's a therapy. It's an energy shifting therapy. And I think it will blend with your tarot card readings really well. My first question was, how much? It was the 10th of the price that my NLP had cost. And I had retired by then, or I had taken early retirement. So I had a lump sum in the bank. So I paid for the NLP. I paid for the Kinetic Shift, which she was right. It was a wonderful, non-intrusive therapy. I suffer with arthritis. And I was suffering with arthritis then. Of course, I'd been on the self-awareness. I'd been on the NLP. I thought my depression had gone. I felt so much different to what I started off on that journey. They worked on my arthritis, which I hasten to add has never got any worse. It's the same now as it was on the day they worked on it. But they also got rid of my depression, Sean.
Wow.
Which is what it's all about. It's about getting rid of those blocks, those depressions, those anxieties, those PTSDs. And let's face it, this day and age, we've all got PTSD after lockdown.
Yeah.
But I found working with my clients that it not only helps with those sort of things, it helps with sleep apnea. It helps with fibromyalgia. It doesn't cure it, but it does help with it. And I've got clients that come back time and time again. My greatest thing with my Kinetic Shift is there's a young man still walking this planet that didn't want to be here. That is my greatest success. I stopped him.
That must be awesome to know that what you.
He's here because he shifted that.
Of what
he shifted that voice that was telling him to end it. He shifted it. I worked with a guy I met on the plane. I was flying home from Spain. As you know, Sean, I go flitting off every now and then. And I was talking to this guy's wife, and she was telling me how her husband suffered with anxiety. So I slipped her my business card and said, I can help him. Thinking I would not be here anymore, but the guy did come. He made an appointment. After about 15 minutes into the session, he said that he felt as if he was cured and he wanted to go. So I couldn't hold a gun to his head and say, you've got to stay and finish the session. I let him go. But a couple of days later, I asked him how he was feeling. And he said, well, the first day I felt absolutely great, but the anxieties come back. And I said, because you didn't finish the session. Come back and finish it. There's a review on my Google from that guy who came to me with anxiety. He no longer has got anxiety. Kinetic Shift is what it says. It's a non-intrusive therapy. We don't need to know what's caused it, why you feel like it, any questions whatsoever. All I need to know, is it a physical ailment, or is it, is it something that you think that you're probably imagining? For me, my depression was triggered by my dad. When he was in the RAF when I was born. He was only a very young man when I was born as well. He was only 21. Well, he wasn't quite 21 because he's 91 next Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was born in the July, so he wasn't quite 21. And he had no idea how to be a dad. No idea whatsoever. I always felt that he didn't love me. I've been assured that he does. And now I can talk about my dad quite freely, without getting upset, without getting angry at him, because he didn't do what he did to me deliberately. It was just how it was. He moved my goalposts to make me a better person, instead of which he made me have depression. But it was my choice to keep that depression going, Sean, and that is a hard thing to swallow. You see,
yeah, I agree with you. I think there's an awful lot of people out there holding on to, the memories, and there's this almost. I mean, I think we've all had, and I can put my hand up to you, Kay. I've had a bout of depression in my life, a number of bouts. One that was triggered after my mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I just fell off the planet. I went missing in my mind, in my around my friends, everything. I disappeared. Although I didn't. It was me feeling like I wanted to disappear. But what was actually happening out there, people were noticing the change in me, and were worried and concerned. Naturally, those closest to me were. But it also created those even closer. It created a massive damage to the family unit, because I'd isolated myself.
Yeah.
And I can totally get why people sort of carry on, try and get through it. Some people will get through it. Some people will need assistance to get through it. But if you want to get through it, I look back now and I thought, if I'd have known you now, Kay, and I knew it was happening to me, but I just wasn't willing to change.
No, it's like a third person, isn't it? Looking in. You know what you're doing. You can see exactly what is happening, but you can't do anything to stop it. That's how I felt. But I know now, purely because I work in that field now, that it carried on from childhood, adolescence, right through my adulthood, because I allowed it to.
Yeah.
Not because I would necessarily wanted it to, but it had become a habit. And life is a habit. All of us live by habits, and we have to break those habits. And I've broken that habit well and truly now with my dad, purely because I don't go and see him. Wow. It was as simple as that. I had to sever my connections with him. Now, that sounds as if I don't care about my dad. I do. He's my dad. But I also care about me. So I don't go and see my dad. My husband goes and sees my dad. My husband takes the brunt of it for me. That's what husbands do, isn't it, Sean? You know that. You're a husband. Yeah. So, he protects me as well. My children understand now why I was like I was, and I've got a great relationship with both my children. I've got 2 fantastic grandchildren as well. So I know that life can really be like that egg timer and turn around. Yeah. Because my sand was coming through as a depressed woman, and life was passing me by. I mean, I was 50, but I'm glad to say for the last nearly 20 years, I've been depression free. I'm giving away my age there, aren't I? But there we go. I am that age and I'm proud of it. I'm living my life now how I probably should have been living it in my 20s, 30s, 40s. Yeah. I started living it in my 50s. But I'm living it. We're never too old to turn our lives around. And there's many people like myself who will get you to think for yourself by reading the tarot or soul cards or whatever cards they read. Or they may have another therapy other than kinetic shifts that can help you to regain that balance within. But not all of them run a hub like I do.
Tell us more about that hub.
I have an online hub, which is where I encourage people to come and be themselves. They don't have to put on any masks. They don't have to pretend that they're anything. They can just be themselves. I don't care if they swear. I don't care. I don't care, but I do care. That's why I want them there. I want them to take back those. It's like an onion. I want them to start peeling back to the core. I want to start them loving themselves, accepting who they are, and making the changes. In just the same way as I had to accept who I was and make my changes. Yes, it took me a long time, but I'm aiming for people in their 20s, in their 30s. I don't care if they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s as well, but it's the younger element I'm aiming at. Because I wasted my life in some ways, but I didn't, because I learned a lot of lessons. Those lessons have given me the experience to help my clients today. So I did the journey that I was meant to do, and I'm a great believer that our journey is planned out for us, and we do these things. It's like me going to read going to that psychic development academy, meeting somebody to do the cards. My friend saying she wanted to, and it wasn't. It was me. But you know, these things happen. We are put in the right place at the right time. The right things happen, and we can benefit, and other people can benefit too.
And all that knowledge and learning that over the years, and obviously going through the courses that you've gone through, has brought you into the position where you are today, where you've overcome massive elements in your own life around depression and anxiety, and you're now, through experience, through personal experience, but also through learning the NLP, obviously Kinetic Shift, the tarot cards, and the soul card readings, you're now able to shift somebody from where they are a lot quicker, perhaps now, than you've done yourself, because it's taken you a long time to get to that.
Took me a long time, but it doesn't have to take that long.
No, brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Kay? I was really looking forward to this, because it's right. This is so much round the way of thinking. You know, life as a path for you. I've always said that. You know, we're put on this. I've always said to people, hey, you know, the moment you have your first heartbeats, there is the last heartbeat is already planned. You know, it's like you've got so many heartbeats there
100%
in your life, and you know, some are fortunate to have more than others. But whilst we're here, we can make a difference. And Kay, as an accredited member of this association, you do make a difference. And you make not just the difference to the community, but to that wider audience that you reach out to. And that's why you've got the accredited service standard. That's why we opened our arms when you said, I'd like to be part of this. Because you've done it and you've lived it, and you can now show and teach and elevate someone else out of the positions that you found yourself in. And I love that about you. It's you're very, you know, everything is what you do seems to be on your heart seems to be on your sleeve. And
my heart is on my sleeve, because
I love that about you.
Yeah, I could put a mask on and pretend that nothing happened to me in the past. But it did happen, and if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So why should I hide it?
No. It's part of your journey, isn't it?
I mean, people laugh when I say I threw those tarot cards in the bin. They laugh even more because I'd been reading them for what, 12, 13 years, I suppose, when lockdown came. So what did I do in lockdown? I went online and looked to see if there was anything that I could do to get a certificate to say I was a tarot card reader.
Right.
You know what, Sean? There was. And there was two ways of doing it. I could either do their course, or I could just take the exam. So I just took the exam, didn't I? Thinking, you know, I probably won't pass this because I haven't done their course, but I have. I've got a certificate to say I'm a qualified tarot card reader now. So yeah, I'm qualified in it all. But the biggest qualification I got is my life.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. You know, that journey is just that's the foundation of everything that you offer. You know, that journey, that initial, you know, to go through the journey of life that you've gone through, the experiences that have pointed you in the direction of where you've turned into and where you've wanted to be, having the, you know, the learning capacity, going getting those qualifications. That whole journey in life has brought you to where you are today, and we're very, very proud to have you. We really are proud to have you within the association.
I love being in the association as well.
Kay, can you, for those listening in, can you tell us, or tell them, don't need to tell me, I know where to find you, but can you tell them where you hang out, where they find you, like where your your website address,
Yeah.
Facebooks, all that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about where you hang out.
You can find me mainly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my social media platform, really. I feel more at home on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook. But you can find me on Facebook too. You can also find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok too. And my website is quite simple. It's just kdownie.co.uk.
Nice and easy to remember.
Why complicate things when they can be easy?
Yeah,
That is the
absolutely.
problem, Sean. We complicate things.
Overthink.
We overthink, yes. Simplicity is the way forward. And if we could all just be simple in our thinking and kind and loving in our deeds and our words, what a better place we'd live in.
Wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it be just? Listen, for those listening in, you now know where to find Kay. Kay is an accredited member of this association, of the Trusted Business Community Association, and she has been an accredited member now for a number of years. She is the go-to soul mechanic. Her hands may not be greasy, but she's really willing to put her hands in yours and help you out. She may be a mechanic, but it's for you that she is the mechanic. Most important thing is find her either where she said, or you can find her, of course, in our directory, where with our directory, you have the ability, if she is showing online that she's available for a conversation with you, you can do a video conference call with her, like we're doing within this interview, and find out a little bit more. She is the go-to for everything that she spoke about today. So don't forget, find her there. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe below, and follow not just this particular interview, but also other interviews that we've had and will be holding in the future, but other awesome accredited members just like Kay. Kay Downie, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to part 2 when we come round and find out and get an update on it, maybe sometime early part of next year. Look forward to speaking to you soon.
Likewise, Sean.